Every fantasy football season has players who massively overperform relative to their average draft position. We here at 4QWI have some players in mind who we consider potential steals entering the 2026 season, including one being drafted at wide receiver 40 that has real wide receiver 2 upside and a quarterback that is practically free right now. For this video, I'll be using JuiceBoxOne's 2026 Abusing Draft Ranking spreadsheet, which aggregates all major fantasy football services into a one-stop shop that is updated weekly. I've linked it below for easy access. In here, I will be finding where these players are roughly going and making the case on why you may want to reach and snag them before they're gone. To be clear, we're not saying to stake your entire season on these guys and or draft them way above ADP, but these are players who will at minimum exceed their draft day cost or be worth a look a bit earlier due to their upside for the entire season. With that, here are 5 players on our radar for your consideration. First up, we've got Jaylen Waddle on his new team, the Denver Broncos. Waddle made an immediate fantasy impact in his first 3 seasons with the Miami Dolphins, averaging 84 receptions with 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns between 2021 and 2023. But with the Dolphins' regression over the past 2 seasons, that has meant the same for Waddle, seeing his receiving numbers dip below 1,000 yards in the last 2 seasons. Despite a tough season in Miami last year with Tua Tagovailoa and Quinn Ewers behind center, Waddle still finished as wide receiver 24 in 2025, putting together a quietly solid season, including tying his second most touchdowns in a season mark with 6 to go alongside over 900 yards. Entering the 2026 season, Waddle is now a Denver Bronco, a team that just finished the 2025 season with an AFC Championship appearance. He'll be slotting in as the immediate wide receiver 2 on this squad, and the wide receiver 1 on this team, Courtland Sutton, has had one of the best seasons of his career in 2025, getting targeted over 120 times along with his second straight 1,000-yard season to go alongside 7 touchdowns. As it stands, Waddle is sitting at wide receiver 23 in PPR and wide receiver 25 in standard, but the talent is obviously there and Waddle is poised for a great bounce-back season in the Mile High City. With Bo Nix healthy again, this Broncos team will surely be looking to have their offense match their top-tier defense, and Waddle could be in line for a top 20 wide receiver fantasy season and can be drafted with confidence as your squad's wide receiver 2 with upside for more in the 2026 season. Next up, we've got Quinshon Judkins of the Cleveland Browns. Another running back we want to remind you about is Quinshon Judkins as he enters his sophomore season in the NFL. He went down with a fractured fibula and dislocated ankle in week 16 against the Bills, but before that he was stringing together a pretty solid rookie campaign as one of the lone bright spots of the Cleveland Browns offense. The case for Judkins revolves largely around the volume he receives. In playing 14 out of 17 games last season, Judkins was still 18th in the NFL in carries among running backs with 230, going for 20 or more attempts 5 times. Averaging 16.4 carries per game plays Judkins at 8th in the NFL, and he added in a solid 7 rushing touchdowns on the season. Judkins figures to continue to get a steady diet of carries per game entering the 2026 season, which provides an immediate and stable fantasy floor, assuming his health. Along with that, the Browns just got much-needed offensive line help as the Browns drafted Spencer Fano 9th overall out of Utah. The 6'5", 311-pound Fano was Offensive Lineman of the Year in the Big 12 and also an All-American. This will immediately improve the Browns' quality of life offensively and allow Judkins a lot more room to operate on the ground. Currently rated at RB19 in standard leagues, Judkins should be considered a strong possibility for a year 2 leap. He has a guaranteed reliance on him to be a bell cow, and the addition of Spencer Fano to the offensive line makes Judkins worth a look as a true breakout candidate for 2026. Now we move on to Jakobi Meyers of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Myers continues to be an unsung and rock-steady receiver who has seen 96 or more targets every season since 2021, and after being traded to the Jaguars mid-season last year, he was targeted 61 times for 483 yards and 3 touchdowns as a Jaguar. Myers' pedigree and obvious connection with Trevor Lawrence earned him a 3-year, $60 million contract extension in December 2025, which tells us that the Jaguars believe in having him be a key component of this offense. Even after spending the first half of the 2025 season with the dreadful Las Vegas Raiders, Myers was still 26th in the NFL in targets and receptions on the season last year, and figures to be the wide receiver 2 on the Jaguars as it stands according to ESPN's depth chart. Myers does have Brian Thomas looking to have a bounce-back season, and Parker Washington emerged as a strong candidate for a wide receiver 3 at the back end of 2025, but Myers still averaged 6.8 targets per game as a Jag, and that edged out both Thomas and Washington. More on that point, the only game that Myers suited up for the Jaguars in which he wasn't targeted at least 6 times was his team debut in Week 10 against the Texans. And with Travis Hunter in mind, he'll be playing mostly full-time cornerback snaps in 2026, so he looks to be even less of a factor in our Myers shout-out here. Myers is currently sitting at wide receiver 40 in PPR leagues, but being just 29 years old and entering his first full season with Trevor Lawrence on a Jaguars team that's flourishing in the Liam Cohen era, I'm very high on him as an every-week flex option. And that's minimum too. He could be worth a look even earlier than expected in your drafts. Ultimately, Myers seems to be the most sure thing in the wide receiver room for the Jaguars, and I have no issue taking him at his ADP or even slightly higher, knowing it'll likely pay off. Meyers is one of those players you'll never be upset about rostering in fantasy football. Now we turn to Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. During a true breakout season in 2024 where he reached just about 1,200 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, and 43 receptions, Hubbard got paid a 4-year extension with the Panthers worth up to $33.2 million. He seemed primed to be a top running back in the NFL at this point in time. Entering 2025, Hubbard started off with a decent set of games, including 4.1 yards per carry and 2 receiving touchdowns, before going down with a calf injury that sidelined him for a couple of games. In his stead, Rico Dowdle assumed running back starting duties for Carolina, and this continued past Hubbard's return from injury. Hubbard finished 2025 with virtually no fantasy relevance due to Dowdle's presence. But Rico Dowdle is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, and Hubbard once again finds himself as the lead back for a hungry Panthers team, and he's a solid candidate for a bounce-back season. There is some hype around Jonathan Brooks, but he hasn't played it down since late 2024. We don't really know what he's capable of, and we do know what Chuba Hubbard is capable of in the NFL. Hubbard will now be fully healthy and also has a strong offensive line to assist him, which just added a literal huge piece as they snagged 6'7", 315-pound tackle Monroe Freeling out of Georgia in the 2026 draft. Hubbard is currently sitting at RB31 in PPR formats, but with everything I just mentioned in mind, he could be in line for a real strong RB2 showing that reminds us all why he got paid big money less than 2 seasons ago. And finally, we have Jacoby Brissett of the Arizona Cardinals. Shout out to Austin for standing on business for his boy Jacoby Brissett during our quarterback tier list on the 4 Quarters of a Whole Idiot podcast. If you haven't checked out that episode yet, please be sure to do so after you watch this video. And I'll do my best to give you the case on why Jacoby Brissett might be worth rostering in fantasy football. The journeyman Brissett finished as quarterback 16 in 2025 following the best season of his career as he started 14 games as an Arizona Cardinal where he tossed right around 3,400 yards to go with 23 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He also averaged 240.4 yards in the air, which was good for 8th in the NFL as well. Brissett also just finished a holdout and is now signed a big money deal with the Cardinals that's guaranteeing $15.5 million entering his pocket as he goes into the 2026 season. The QB1 for the Cardinals has some new faces joining him as the running back room has added rookie Jeremiah Love and Tyler Algier into the room, which of course, as we know, was one of the most injured locker rooms in the entire NFL last season. Along with that, the Cardinals also just added Kendrick Bourne that fills out a wide receiving room that includes Marvin Harrison Jr. looking for a breakout season, alongside last year's true fantasy breakout wide receiver in Michael Wilson. In truth, the tools are there for Brissett to put together a strong fantasy season. Currently, he's not coming off of draft boards much as he's currently beyond quarterback 26, according to the source that I'm looking at. Does he deserve a better look now? With a healthy running back room, money in his pocket, and an undeniable connection to at least Michael Wilson, I see Brissett as at least a rosterable quarterback 2 on your team and a viable starter in 2 quarterback formats. If he ends up having a top 12 fantasy season as Austin seems to expect, we'll have to give Austin his flowers at the end of the season. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for watching, and let us know in the comments below what you thought of the 5 players we've presented to you today. Additionally, let us know who you are reaching for in your fantasy drafts and players that you're particularly high on in the comments below as well. And if you haven't yet, check out our 2026 NFL quarterback tier list on our most recent episode of the 4 Quarters of a Whole Idiot podcast. Make sure you stay locked in to 4QWI for more premium sports content throughout the entire NFL season and beyond. We'll see you in the next video.